Are we live? Is this thing on? What's up, ladies and gentlemen? It's your boy Disco, and I am joined by an all-star cast of some fantastic fantasy football and just football content creators in general. Very blessed to be joined by all of you beautiful people. So we're going to start from Andrew, Jack, Yvette, Matt, then Brett. Everybody introduce yourself. Talk about the team that you're representing and say something about, the division. You guys could talk your trash. You guys can be nice if you want, but it's the AFC North. We know this is smash mouth football. So when you come, make sure you folks come correct. Andrew, what's up, buddy?
Hey there, Disco. How's it going? So yeah, Andrew Hall at Andrew Hall FF on Twitter. I'm representing the Bengals in this one. We back, baby. Joe Burrow's back with the blonde hair, the short cut, ready to go and win it all. So I'm very excited for this season.
I like it. I like it a lot. Jack, you're up, brother.
Disco, why are you lying to the people out here? Everybody else is fantastic, but I'm the worst.
Oh, God. You're right. You are the worst fantasy football show on YouTube, but I think what you do is great. It's very unique. I absolutely love it. Yvette, what's up, girl? Thank you for gracing us with your presence. Tell the folks who you are and where they can find you, please, and thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you. First, and I'm not going to argue with Jack for calling himself the worst. As you can tell, he has a terrible towel behind him. So we already knew he was the worst. I mean, obviously, no one had to say that. Anyways, hi, I'm Yvette, and I represent the Cleveland Browns, the future AFC North champs. And you can find me at Bougie Thank you.
Ooh, them is fighting words. She's coming out hot, guys. Matt, you got to bring that fire for the Ravens flock, brother. Talk to us.
What's going on, guys? I'm Matt Trigger. I host Bearded Wholesome and All Things Baltimore. I interview a lot of different people from Baltimore that have played sports here professionally, that live here, that are from here. I've also have a sports talk show, All Things Baltimore Sports, with my co-host Tim Malarkey. Right now we're in the middle of O's season. Go O's! It's Birdland over here right now, and you can find me at BWATB Podcast. I stream all my shows on Twitter or X on here, and I'm part of the Driving to the Top Productions podcasting network. So that's where you can find all my content.
Amazing. Thank you for joining us, Matt. So yes, we do have two reps that are here repping, the Flock Nation, the Ravens. We also got my good friend here, Brett. Brett, please introduce yourself and let the folks know where they can find you.
Yeah, appreciate you having me on. Appreciate you letting us have two Ravens fans. Brett Lanier, I'm the co-founder and CEO of a company called Better Vision, an app to let you combine all your fantasy, daily fantasy and sports betting in one app, so you can track everything. Big Baltimore Ravens fan. Had season tickets since I got married. Proposed with them. That's what my wife wanted instead of an engagement ring. That's how I knew she was the one. And excited for us to go 20-0 this year. Well, when Lamar is healthy and finishes the season, we lock up the number one seed. We lock up the AFC North, and he wins the MVP every single year. So excited for another healthy Lamar season.
I mean, he
started like looking in a mirror with Brett.
Fat bald guy, bald, yeah.
So my team is definitely not a team here in the division, but we've owned the entire conference for the longest time. Shout out to my Patriots. Just going to give an honorary shout out to my pack, but enough about the Patriots, because I could talk about them all day. Let's get right into it, guys. We're going to let the folks know what we're doing. And shout out to the folks at Drafters Fantasy for sponsoring our ADP that we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about fantasy football implications. We're going to talk about people who we're going to push, people who we're going to fade. Everybody's going to have a chance to talk about everybody's team. Bring the fire, bring the noise. Let's get awesome. We're going to first start, guys, with the quarterback position. And guys, by the way, sorry, I should have mentioned this. We are doing a Drafters giveaway where you can win $500,000 if you just draft a fantasy football lineup in his best ball format. All you got to do in the chat is just type your favorite team. We got a lot of people who are already entered, and we're going to do a fun little duck race at the end. All right, let's start with the quarterback position. I got these fun little slides here for us. So let's go here. Everything cool? Cool. All right, guys, we got the Ravens with Lamar Jackson, 48 ADP. Bengals, Joe Burrow, 94 ADP. Browns, Deshaun Watson with the ADP of 156. Steelers have Russell Wilson coming off of a calf injury, which means Justin Fields should start shooting up these draft boards. Russell Wilson at 208, Justin Fields borderline undraftable at 219, folks. We'll start with Ravens flock. We'll get Brett to go first here. Just tell me what you like about Lamar Jackson and tell me how you feel about the rest of the division in terms of their quarterback play.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, love Lamar Jackson. I try to grab him in almost every single draft. I'll reach a bit for him. I think a really good chance to be QB1 this year. People might be worried about Derrick Henry. I'm not. I think that maybe even opens up things a little bit more for him in the running game. I think the second year in this offense, with the established weapons now of Zay Flowers, Mark Andrews, Isaiah Likely, I'm high on Rashad Bateman. We'll get all that later, but I think it's going to really open things up for him. And so love him. I love grabbing Justin Fields with usually the last pick of my drafts. I think that's a massive lottery ticket that I'm betting on. And then I do have a couple of Deshaun Watson shares. At his ADP, it's a great value, especially in Superflex.
Well, he does present tremendous upside. All right, let's go with Matt, the next Ravens fan. Talk to me about the rest of the division and how you think Lamar Jackson is going to do this year, my friend, at the quarterback position.
I love Lamar. A lot of people seem to be split on him, especially when you talk to people that are fans of other teams. I'm going to openly admit this on a draft show. I avoid all the Ravens when I'm drafting my fantasy football teams. I stress out watching these guys more than most people, and I can't worry about my fantasy team and the Ravens at the same time. So unless Lamar falls, I usually avoid drafting any of the Ravens, but I think he stacks up well this year. It's a little bit worrisome that he's missed 3.5 out of the first 4 days of camp. We were off today. We had an off day that Harbaugh gave the team, but it seems like whenever he's under 230 pounds, he seems to get sick an awful lot. And I know Brett can kind of attest to it, being a Ravens fan, that for the last 2 years when Lamar's been coming to camp at 230, 235, we haven't heard about him getting sick. We haven't heard about him being hurt. And then all of a sudden he's been absent at training camp the entire week. And we just got here.
Yeah. Worry about the diet. I don't know what that is, but yeah.
I don't get it, man. I mean, he cut the weight back down as soon as we signed Derrick Henry. He started leaning out again, and I know that he's doing that for a specific reason because he was getting run down by linebackers last year, and I think he wants to get back to being that speed demon again. But we just signed a 250-pound running back that likes to run people over, so I don't really want to see Lamar do what he's been doing the last 5 or 6 years in terms of on the ground. I want him to run when he needs to, not because he wants to.
Can I just add, can you imagine being an NFL linebacker having 320-pound Patrick Ricard at fullback plus Derrick Henry barreling down at you? I wouldn't want to do it. Anyways, sorry. Great take here, fellas. Yvette, you're up. How do you feel about Deshaun Watson this year? What are you projecting Deshaun Watson to do? And talk to me about the rest of the division. Do you think some of these guys need to be faded? Do you think some of these guys need to be pushed? I feel like, the Ravens fans were way too nice. I'm expecting you to bring the fire, right?
Well, yeah. Well, first of all, I was going to say, I thought Lamar Jackson was a running back, so he's probably on the wrong list. And
funny.
I'd see that. And Joe Burrow, I don't even know what's going on with him. Anyway, well, let's just talk. Let's start with Deshaun Watson. And your question is, what do I think about Deshaun Watson? Well,
yeah, how's he going to do this year?
Well, let's hope that the shoulder injury is taken care of, right? And I think that's the big question that everybody has in Cleveland is, how is he going to perform? I'm hoping that we are going to see the Deshaun Watson that we spent all of that money on. That's where I'm going on. I think that I know people like to talk about how bad he's done, but I like to talk about the second half of the Ravens game and what we did then. And I want to see that Deshaun Watson. That's what Deshaun Watson we're going to see. I don't know about the trash in Pittsburgh between Russell, Wilson and Justin Fields.
Oh,
I mean, isn't that what that is? Weren't they on other teams last year that they're not on this year? And now the Steelers are trying to figure out which one that's going to be. I don't know.
Can I just say, great job, Yvette. We are here to bring the fire, and you brought the freaking fire, girl. I appreciate you for doing that. Shout out to you. I may be a Deshaun Watson believer. Brett, I did not miss your massage reference there, Brett.
You saw him on his shoulder, you know.
I know. I see it, guys. This is exactly what we were hoping for when we created the show. All right, Angel, we'll let you go last. Jack, you're up because she kind of said, Joe Burrow and the blonde hair, whatever, you know what I mean? But she said you have two bottom feeders, two rejects at the quarterback position there in Pittsburgh. Make sense of the quarterback situation for us. And please tell me how the rest of the quarterbacks in this division are going to do. You're up, Jack.
I'm going to have to motor mouth through this because I have so much to say right now. Okay. Let's start with this list is perfect because it's already in the order of best to worst, and it's also in the order of best to worst. And you're like, wait, what did he just say there? So from top to bottom is the best actual NFL quarterbacks. That's fine. But the best to worst from bottom to top is what you need for fantasy. And so when you're looking at the ADP, when you're looking at the price, I just picked up Russell Wilson, Justin Fields duo pack and Warrior Bowl in like the double-digit rounds as my quarterback, and I'm laughing because now the whole top end of my team is stacked. If Russell Wilson plays, fine. He's a middling QB too. If Fields plays, we've seen it before in the Bears. He doesn't need to be a good quarterback. He needs to be a good running back like Lamar Jackson, who also I'm fading at ADP because I still don't believe in the wide receivers, which we'll talk about later. So we'll table that discussion. But what I really want to talk about is Joe Burrow and his early midlife crisis out here looking like Slim Shady and his wrist. So I'm going to read this real fast. Shout out to @Dr. Jesse Morse. Burrow suffered a season-ending right scaphoid ligament tear in his throwing wrist on November 16, 2023. So this ligament is very important for the stability of the wrist because it is related to like poor blood supply and needed to be repaired. He asked an orthopedic hand surgeon about it basically, and he said it's a bad injury to have, invariably always leads to some instability over time and arthritis at an earlier age. 80% of normal strength and range of motion is common. Hard to do dart throwers motion, which is important for snapping the wrist and the follow through when throwing. But these guys are superhuman, so I'm sure he'll be fine. So the wrist injury is way worse than people initially thought being reported. Now, Burrow looks good in training camp so far, but this is 100% going to be pain management and definitely is liable to compensating injuries. So I'm very nervous about Burrow. The ADP kind of bakes the risk in a little bit. But out of the guys here, I'm drafting Russell Wilson and Justin Fields. And I'm taking Deshaun Watson. I'm taking shots on him. Watson, it's not the shoulder that I'm worried about. It's his feet. Ever since this man got in Cleveland, he's the penguin from Happy Feet, just out here snapping those feet and like pattering them behind the line of scrimmage, not really looking downfield. He's seeing ghosts like Zach Wilson, every Jets quarterback. Yeah, Darnold, that's the one. Every Jets quarterback that's ever existed. That's Deshaun Watson right now. And I think Jameis Winston could legitimately be an upgrade over like between what they had until Flacco. So like over like the PJ Walkers and like the Dorian Thompson Robinson and these other jabronis that were running out. Like until they had Flacco, they didn't have a quarterback, and the Browns were definitely like on their way out. And then they got the Flacco renaissance, and unfortunately he's gone. But I think Winston is a capable replacement. So I actually really like the Browns' chances this year. But yeah, for fantasy, it's just I'm taking the cheapest guys because Lamar just scares me because he's got no wide receivers, and Mandrews always seems to find his way on IR somehow. And Burrow with the wrist just really makes me nervous.
I hear you. I feel you. I want to shout out this comment here. Viper 10 says Browns QB by the end of the season will be Jameis Winston. Ooh. And then James SEO over here says Joe Burrow will be this year's MVP plus comeback player of the year, the Super Bowl MVP. That's a lot of high praise, Andrew. That's a lot of high praise, Andrew. Talking about your boys. And, Jack Lucene just spoke about your boy, Joe Burrow. I like Joe Burrow. Joe Burrow is one of my favorite players in fantasy to draft this year and every year because I love Jamar Chase, but we're not there yet. And this isn't about me. This is about you defending Houday Nation, right? You need to defend your boys right now because Jack came at your throat. Yvette said, he said that there's a midlife crisis for Joe Burrow. Joe Burrow's too young to have a midlife crisis. Talk to the folks. Bring that heat. Bring that fire. Talk to us, brother.
So the way I look at this is, yes, that wrist injury wasn't great. Nobody liked that. And for fantasy especially, it was terrible. But the Bengals still almost made the freaking playoffs. Like, even without Joe Burrow, they put Jake Browning in there, and the team still did okay. Imagine okay plus Joe Burrow, and he's back, fully cleared, 100% healthy, in training camp, throwing passes. Why are we worried? We're good to go. It's been, 9 months now at this point? Like, he's covered. He's fine. And I think the thing that I was hoping for all offseason, that I was wishing that Joe Burrow would do, is learn to throw left-handed. Can you imagine an ambidextrous Joe Burrow out there rolling to his left and just super spiral down the field to Jamar Chase all the way in the end zone on a lefty throw, throws defenses all the way up? I would love that. I haven't heard that that's true, but God, that would be amazing.
I think it would be amazing too. That you came with the fire. I kind of, guys, I hate this because, even though I'm a diehard religious Patriots fan, I love Jamar Chase no matter what in fantasy football. I preach it all the time. It doesn't matter if CMC is available or CD. So I'm really high on the Bengals this year, but I'm trying to not have a particular bias. I mean, I got two Ravens fans on here. I got Jack here.
We see the bias. Don't worry.
Yeah, I like my guy. All right, let's take it to the running back position. Yvette, you'll kick us off here, and then we'll go to Andrew, then we'll go to Matt and Brett, and then we'll finish off with Jack. All right, the running back position. Here's a slide. Let's go. God, I'm so okay, guys. I need to say something. I am technically incompetent. Technology in me. I'm a modern day Neanderthal. All right,
you're doing great.
But this is good. I'm doing this, guys. We're doing this.
Right.
All right. We got the running backs. We got the ADPs. They're all up here. You got your Steelers, Ravens, Bengals, and your Browns. I may have cut off the Browns name there. My apologies. But talk to us about your running back situation. There's a lot of news coming in there. So I got all the noteworthy guys here in the bottom left with Jerome Ford, Nick Chubb, Donta Foreman. Tell me what we can expect from the Browns running game this year. And then tell me if you like or dislike the other running backs in the division and why. Please and thank you.
Awesome. Really quick, I want to say something to Andrew about Joe Burrow. I think that he might be able to use both hands because when he was walking the runway, I saw a lot of this action.
That's right.
So that could possibly happen,
I just hope he can't. I hope he can turn left. Right. That's the whole thing with models. I can't turn left. I hope he didn't catch that. So that's all.
I mean, I thought I seen, a little bit of that going on, but yeah, I think in Cleveland, the running back talk is about Nick Chubb, right? And whether or not he's going to be back in the first game. And we all seen the, video of our awesome running back. I don't know if there's any other videos of anybody else's running back coming back from a horrible injury, lifting 5,000 million pounds, but there was one of the Browns. And that was my guy, number 24, Cleveland Browns. I love you, Pookie. Obviously the best running back in the world. And at that ADP, I think obviously we'll take him. Is he going to move up? Probably. I think he was already starting to rise after he's seen his Batman ways. But even if he doesn't, in the waiting room, we do have Jerome Ford, who is just as good. And I think it's going to be an absolute steal at where he's at. And it's actually kind of embarrassing. I don't even want to look at it right now because it's so sad that he's that low because he's definitely better than that. Deontay Foreman, that's just Deontay Foreman.
Yeah.
So let's talk about the other running backs. Who do I not like? And I mean, I don't even think the thing in Pittsburgh is that they're probably going to run the ball a lot, right? Especially with Russell Wilson. So I think for a fantasy, in volume, that you're going to get a lot of running back volume in those two losers over there and the Steelers. So Derrick Henry, that's another, like, I'm so excited, and I'm sure the Ravens guys are excited to see what he's going to bring to the table in Baltimore. Imagine like how he was on that team last year compared to what he has now, and it's scary as a Browns fan. I don't want him there. I'm not happy that he's there. I'm just hoping that him and like Lamar Jackson will fight over the ball, like who's going to run it the most, and that's what I'm hoping for, because that's the only thing that happened good. Otherwise, I do think, and then I don't know why I think Derrick Henry can return the ball with the new kick rule. I mean, people are like, no, they will actually never love Derrick Henry. But how do you know? Maybe.
Yeah.
That would be scary.
That would be terrifying. Yeah.
We've seen a lot of crazy things happen in the NFL. I still seriously do not know how to play this whole like return thing. I know there's like names that are, set design designated returners, but I think you could just throw anyone back there and just pray for a big play. And I mean, imagine Derrick Henry returning a kick. Can you imagine that? Oh, terrifying. Thank you for bringing the fire, Yvette, there. Can I just ask you, between those two losers, Najee Harris and Jaylen Warren, which one do you think is going to have a better fantasy season? Because their ADP is relatively the same. Which one? Jaylen or Najee?
I would put my cards on Jaylen.
Okay. Well, I like Jaylen for PPR format. That's for sure. I like it a lot. All right. Who do we say was next? Andrew, you're up. Yes.
I'll go next, and I'll just echo the I'm terrified of Derrick Henry sentiment. I feel like I'm on that same page. Like, that offense is going to be disgusting if Derrick Henry is his old self and Lamar is his current self. Like, no thanks. I'm terrified. But I also wanted to say real quick before I get to my team, just to kind of wrap up, it's surprising that Yvette didn't bring up Nyheim Hines. He's the kick returner technically on that team. He's a running back. I actually drafted him in the Scott Fish Bowl in the 20th round, I think, because I was like, kickoffs have a lot of points in Scott Fish Bowl, and there's a lot of potential yardage and things like that. Like, I think Nyheim Hines could be something that nobody's looking at if you're in a league with that, or a super deep league or a dynasty league.
He got hurt though, didn't he?
He did. Well, he's been hurt. I think this isn't a new injury, but again, I'm fine with him going on IR and kind of a pup list or whatever it is at this time of year. None of that really matters. Like, we're in July, and I don't want him to get more hurt. Just come out week 1 and be good to go, buddy. But to the Bengals, to my team, I'm very excited for both Zach Moss and Chase Brown. I think Zach Moss is going to be the guy that takes over in the beginning of the year. He's going to be the 1A, but and to Chase Brown's 1B, but I wouldn't be shocked at all if we see Chase Brown after week 5 or 6 kind of put on the Jets and just take over that role. And I think he's the one that I prefer to have in fantasy this year. I've been trying to add him wherever I can in dynasty leagues too, even though the price has gone up, obviously, since Mixon left the team. So I feel like the running back position for the Bengals is their weakest, and it's still pretty strong. So I'm okay with this. And I'm not sweating my pants. I'm not doing anything crazy. Like, we're going to be fine with Moss and Brown.
Okay. I like it. What about the rest of the division?
The rest of the division makes me worried. I mean, Ravens make me nervous because they always run the ball. Like, that team loves to run the ball. And you put Derrick Henry, who also loves to run the ball. I'm nervous, right? Steelers, I think Yvette was right there too. I think they're going to run the ball a lot just to get the hands out of their quarterbacks, whichever one it's going to be. I actually think Najee Harris is going to be a top 20 running back this year. I just got this feeling that he does something crazy and he blows everybody away. And you can draft him in like the 15th round of your draft or something crazy and be entirely fine with it. Obviously, his ADP is higher than that here, but I know a lot of drafts that I'm in here in the Cincinnati area, everybody's passing on Najee. You're like, we don't want the Steelers. Like, they just keep dropping down. So I wouldn't be shocked at all if you can get him real late when it gets to, a month from now when drafts start happening. So yeah. And Browns obviously got to worry about them a little bit. If Chubb is Chubb, I'm nervous there too. So it's a good division for rushing for sure.
Definitely. Way to come with the fire, guys. If you just want me to pull up the slide with the rankings and ADP, just let me know. I believe we got Brett, then Matt talking about the Ravens guys, and then the rest of the division. Then we'll finish off with Jack. I know who Jack likes. That's for sure.
Yeah. So very high on Derrick Henry. Think he could be RB1 this year, even in the PPR format, because it doesn't matter if he doesn't catch a single ball. Gus Edwards put up 13 touchdowns last year. Derrick Henry is slightly better than Gus Edwards, right?
Yeah.
Even if he's not last year's Derrick Henry. Derrick Henry's worst is better than Gus Edwards, which is why I don't understand like his season-long touchdown props is over 10.5 is plus money.
Plus
right?
money.
Like,
Yeah, crazy.
That's insane.
Yeah.
You can get him to score over 15 touchdowns for plus 850, which is, I love it. I think it's 17. Easily a touchdown a game. It's going to be the CMC bet last year, anytime touchdown every game, and it always hits. This year it's Derrick Henry. So
Okay.
he's a monster. Justice Hill is going to eat, right? He'll probably get, 8 to 10 carries a game at the beginning of the year until Keaton Mitchell comes back. And then Keaton Mitchell is the lightning to the thunder, right? If you saw him play last year, the man is incredible. Undrafted free agent. His dad used to be a Raven. It's a great story, but he played in 5 games. He averaged 11 touches per game in those games, and he averaged over 55 yards a game, right? Like every time he touched the ball, minimum 8.5 yards, right? Whether it was a reception, whether it was a rush, he is just electric. He is faster than anybody out there. He might be the fastest player on the team, faster than Zay, faster than Lamar, which is saying something. So
yeah,
love them. I don't think Ali, I'm not sure if he makes a team. He may start out at the beginning of the year as kind of the third or fourth running back, however you want to count Patrick Ricard. And then, when Keaton Mitchell comes back, he probably moves to the practice squad, is my guess. Outside of the division, like I like the Steelers to run a lot, but it's Arthur Smith, right? Like look what he did with Bijan. Jalen Warren's probably the most talented, so I don't think he's going to get the ball the most, right? So it's probably going to be Najee. And then Cordell came over with Arthur Smith, so he's getting it, right? Like
definitely.
He's just going to Arthur Smith's going to ruin all of your running backs for the Steelers, so just stay away. Same thing with the Bengals. I don't want either of those guys. Dak Moss, Chase Brown, I don't care who it is. Like, they're going to air it out. They're not part of the AFC North black and blue 3 yards in a cloud of dust. They are the more modern offense. They're going to be airing it out. Not really looking for either of those guys. Chubb, if he's healthy, and those videos defy logic. Even if he hadn't had that catastrophic knee injury, but that kid is a monster. He's come back from a ridiculous injury before. I'm scared of him, but I'm not going to touch him for fantasy. Just too much of a risk. So I have taken some Jerome Ford late in a couple drafts if he gets past his ADP, but that's about it. And then Deontay Foreman, I like him, Scott Fishbowl for the returns, but otherwise I wouldn't touch him.
Gotcha. Way to come with the fire, man. I love the fire. I love the props. Shout out to JC Money Design. He said better vision is the future. Shout out to JC and the sports affiliation. We do love JC and the sports affiliation. And that's a very spectacular, genuine shout out as well. And he also said a risk in the 12th. Uh-oh. All right, Matt, you're up, buddy. Bring that fire. Bring that heat, brother.
All right. So I was clamoring for Derrick Henry mid-season last year. That trade got blown up by the owner by, all accounts. It's really scary to think that we've had one of the best rushing attacks over the last 5 years. And now we're adding a future Hall of Fame running back to the fold. I know he's 30 years old. In football, that's kind of like the cliff, so to speak, before every player falls off at that position. I think it's going to be a trend where we acquire a Tennessee Titan and they have a fantastic first year here in the name of Derek Mason, Samari Rolle, and Steve McNair. I think Derrick Henry is the next in line to have a phenomenal season for the Baltimore Ravens. I agree with Brett. I think it might be a 17, maybe possibly a 20 touchdown year for him. Like he said, Gus had 13 touchdowns and under 1,000 yards last year. Henry's a lot better. Even on his worst day, he's a lot better than what we've had at running back the last few seasons. And I love Gus Edwards, so it's not a slight to Gus, but it's Derrick Henry. And I'm taking a 30-year-old Derrick Henry over majority of the running backs in the NFL. I'm not trying to be a biased homer, but you're putting Derrick Henry behind one of the best offensive lines in football. I know that we had a little bit of a shuffle with some guys leaving, but we seem to find offensive linemen with relative ease to take over. And I have faith in Andrew Voorhees and Ben Cleveland or Daniel Fa'alele to get it done inside. We still got Ronnie Stanley. We drafted Rosengard in the second round this year. another road grader. So I can definitely see Henry having a 1,300-yard season easily, especially with Lamar back there, because if they're running the RPO, you don't know who to go after. And now teams got to respect the run, so that's going to help our pass game, but that's for later on in the show. The rest of the division, Nick Chubb absolutely terrifies me, especially if he's healthy. I respect Chubb. I just can't stand when he plays Ravens because he seems to absolutely shred us every time he sees us. I'm not averse to taking him in the mid rounds if he's gonna, if he falls in some of these drafts, especially PPR. I'm gonna take a flyer on him in the 6th or 7th round if he's still hanging around, because at worst he's a trade chip. At best he's RB2, RB1 on whatever team I have. The Bengals running backs don't really worry me because Joe Mixon's no longer there. And to kind of allude to what Brett said, they're the most modernized offense in the entire division. So they're going to air it out. They got 2 wide receivers there that are going to command the ball, plus a couple good tight ends there. So that's not really, they might be worth a flyer late or a waiver wire pickup. Najee, he's always consistent, but at the same time, he doesn't get the looks that he should. And with Warren there, it's different. But I do want to touch on Cordero Patterson, because the dude is a monster. He's a big dude. He's coming with his former OC and with this former the OC in Pittsburgh now. I'm sorry, but
Arthur Smith.
Arthur Smith. I had a brain fart for a second, but
No, you're good.
It's crazy that we talked about the new kickoff rules, and Cordero Patterson's going to really benefit from that. He is going to benefit immensely. The fact that he doesn't have people charging at him until he catches the ball, he might be the most dangerous return man in this division, and that's going to definitely help when it comes to fantasy points this year. So if he's hanging around in one of the last 2 rounds, I'm scooping him up. I don't care what his ADP ranking might be. That's going to be somebody you could potentially use for a flex.
Well, easily, and he's not a bad late round flyer in best ball as well. So we have a question here for the Ravens guys. Let's keep this one quick so we can get to Jack. He says, "Are the Ravens going to miss Patrick Queen?" I think that's a fantastic question.
Nope.
Absolutely not. Brett, I'm sorry. I have some contempt for Queen because he's acted like we haven't done anything for him the last couple of years. We had to go get Roquan Smith because he sucks so goddamn bad. Let's just put it. You look at his stats last year. It's easy to. I'm not downplaying the fact he's a good football player, but when you got Roquan Smith next to you, you got Justin Madubuike in front of you, you got Clowney on the edge, and you got Kyle Hamilton playing above you.
Yeah,
it's real easy when you're like the 5th or the 6th man in the pecking order for who to game plan for. He was running free. Now he's the man in Pittsburgh. If you look back to the Ravens seasons from 2020 to last year, when he was the man with the dot on his helmet, he is in trouble. He can't cover running backs. He can't cover tight ends. He's only good when he's playing in space. And when you're going to Pittsburgh to be the man, you're now having all that responsibility again. And there's no Justin Madubuike in Pittsburgh. There's no Kyle Hamilton in Pittsburgh. They have good defenders, but
I mean, they got Cameron Hayward and they got Minkah Fitzpatrick. They're both relatively the same. But once again, I hear your point loud and clear. I look forward to his return game against.
I can't wait to see Derrick Henry run him over.
Yeah, that's going to be fun. That's going to be fun to watch for sure. All right, Jackie boy, my guy, you're up. Talk to me about the running backs. Talk to me about who you're fading, who you're pushing, who you're super bullish on. I know you just wrote an article about RBs. You and I had a few debates, but to talk to me about your running backs and then the rest of the division as well. Please, thank you.
So I'm just sitting here all cheeky because, first of all, I'm going to poo-poo Derrick Henry because I think Derrick Henry is easily my favorite running back out of all of these. I think that's clear to everyone. He's the ultimate outlier. So how does this not work for Derrick Henry? Let me tell you how it doesn't work. They lost 3 offensive starters. Matt kind of touched on it a little bit. Offensive line starters, to be clear, sorry. And they drafted the rookie in the second round to replace one of the three. And yes, people are just kind of blindly saying, oh, well, the Ravens always figure it out on the offensive line. Yeah, well, maybe they don't this year. Maybe that offensive line regresses to the mean. And as opposed to being a top 5 or top 10 unit, maybe they're more of like they're finishing 15th in that 15th to 20th range. And I think all of the Ravens are going to disappoint you this season because I looked at the schedule. When I was statting out the wins and losses for these teams in this division, the Ravens by far have the hardest schedule in this division. Like it's the Ravens first and then the Steelers. You look at the first 4 weeks, it's Kansas City, Las Vegas, tough defense, Dallas, Buffalo. So 3 of the best teams in the NFL and a really tough defense. Like that's your first 4 weeks with an offensive line that you're going to be basically trying to figure out in those first 4 weeks. So I think it's being a little bit overlooked, the potential offensive line struggles, the fact that they don't have any true wide receivers. We'll still talk about that after. But getting back to the running backs, so Derrick Henry is obviously the outlier. If you can throw me back up the board, I've got some funny comps for you, okay? So for my guys, the Steelers, we talked about Arthur Smith. That's Bijan Robinson and Tyler Algier all over again, except this time he's not forced to play Bijan because of the draft capital. This time he gets to just use Tyler Algier all he wants, and that's Najee Harris. Arthur Smith runs top 2 tight end percentage of plays in the NFL, a lot of them out of single back formation, power sets. That's why they brought him into Pittsburgh, is to bring back that power running. That's all Najee Harris. Jalen Warren's going to be the fade because of Cordero Patterson. I'm not even touching Jalen Warren at that ADP. I have 0% Jalen Warren this year. So I have a little bit of Najee. I have some Derrick Henry. Nick Chubb, unfortunately, I respect Nick Chubb. I think he's going to be good, but I view him as Javonte Williams, where I don't want to be in on it this year. I want to watch him come back and just be able to play this year, and I think that's great, but I don't think he's coming back like full Nick Chubb in that first, you know what I'm saying? Like Javonte Williams, younger running back, we had to watch him go through that. I thought he came back. I was like, befuddled that he even came back as early as he did and played through an entire season. I thought that was amazing. It just wasn't great for fantasy. And that's kind of how I feel about Nick Chubb. Like, I'm going to be like so glad to see him on the field. If he makes it through the whole season, I'm going to be enamored as a fan. I just don't think it's going to be that great for fantasy. If you want to take the shot at the late ADP, I'm fine with it. I just haven't done it personally. And then Zach Moss and Chase Brown, that's this year's Alexander Madison and Ty Chandler. I'm not messing around with that.
Ooh. Wow. You came with you came with stats, you came with facts. There's one thing okay, so Yvette definitely mentioned this. I figured a lot of you would touch on this point as well, but not really. Jerome Ford's value right now as the 108th overall player on a team that is a very efficient running team. He is a dual threat in terms of toting the rock and receiving the rock. He's not getting enough love and attention, and I figured at least the AFC North as a whole would show my man some love and attention. And shout out to you, Yvette, for bringing that up.
Foreman is going to eat into. Unfortunately, that's my problem. Is I love Jerome Ford, but if Nick Chubb is on the field, right, and then you also have Deontay Foreman kind of spelling some of those red zone touches, then you're basically telling me Jerome Ford is Jaleel McLaughlin from last season, which talented, will flash, but he's not going to have enough. Really, again, he's being drafted at the
highest. Disagree.
Yeah, not in the slightest, Jack. Sorry. To finish my point. Yeah, to finish my point, not in the slightest, Jack. If you're looking at that entire situation, you know, Nick Chubb is going to have a very slow ramp up coming off of that injury. It's a lot to go from squatting, you know, a bunch of weight to cutting and taking hits on a weekly basis. Jerome Ford is going to have volume, especially off the rip. In redraft best ball, I think he's an incredible value, but we'll keep this moving. We'll go to the next one. Does anybody else want to talk about running backs before we go to the next page?
Kareem Hunt had 9 touchdowns.
This is true.
Kareem Hunt doesn't even play for anyone anymore.
Yeah, but now
Yeah,
he's been
that's-
replaced by Deontay Foreman. That's my whole point of why I don't want to mess around too much with Jerome Ford at that ADP.
That's an excellent point. That's an excellent point. Let's go to wide receivers. Jack, you'll kick us off.
Oh, yeah.
All right, talk to me about your wide receiver room. You got George Pickens and pretty much a bunch of guys, in my opinion. But it's not about me. It's about you folks tonight. So we'll go Jack, then we'll go Yvette, then we'll go Andrew, and we'll finish off with the Ravens guys. All right.
Okay, Yvette, I'm gonna redeem myself with you a little bit here. Okay, Amari Cooper is one of my absolute favorite wide receivers to draft in all of fantasy. This man has only just produced back-to-back 200 fantasy point seasons in best ball, and this is the whole reason I was trying to explain disparity theory. It's an article I wrote, so it's basically just getting really into the thick of it. It's that you should draft the running backs early because the really good running backs separate themselves from the average by a lot more than the wide receivers. Look at T. Higgins at 46, Amari Cooper at 43. That's a joke. T. Higgins shouldn't even be anywhere remotely in the same ADP as Amari Cooper. Zay Flowers, ha ha ha, no thank you. George Pickens, even are you kidding me? Amari Cooper's been doing it for years and years. You're hoping George Pickens can be Amari Cooper. Amari Cooper is by far and away the best value to draft here. And I've taken him as my wide receiver 1 on plenty of teams where I went running back early. And what allows me to go running back early and get a 3-pack of Bijan and Saquon and then James Cook, all guys that I view as potentially finishing in the top 5. It's because I can come back and get Amari Cooper for free in the 5th and 6th round because nobody wants this guy. George Pickens will have value. Roman Wilson at 182 is crazy. This man is easily the most talented wide receiver that we have. You look at Van Jefferson and Calvin Austin and the rest of the jabronis that we have lingering in this wide receiver room. Roman Wilson has a straight path to Deontay Johnson's role. I don't see how he's not a lock for 800 yards and 5 touchdowns. And at that ADP, especially again in a drafters format where you're looking for those late wide receivers, he is a smash pick to me in the 15th round. Roman Wilson all day, every day. We talked about Rashad Bateman. I prefer Devontae Walker. I think I've had enough of the Rashad Bateman experience.
Yeah.
I'd rather take the shot on Tez Walker. Zay Flowers at the ADP. The problem with him is the splits with Mandrews were really bad. When Mandrews is fully healthy and on the field, Zay Flowers is mostly irrelevant for fantasy. I love Jamar Chase, but I get what you're saying, Disco, how he has the potential to be the guy, but he's never been the guy, and it's because he's just not consistent. He has those huge blow-up games for 200 yards, and then just the next game, it's it was T. Higgins and Tyler Boyd, or this year it's going to be, it was T. Higgins and Yoshivas and Jermaine Burton. All of them are talented receivers, and the way that Burrow spreads the ball, it's Chase just will disappear on you, but he will also have those game-breaking weeks, and you got to hope they all come in your fantasy playoffs. So he's obviously the most talented. At ADP, though, I will tell you this. You said over McCaffrey and Bijan, you're nuts. In drafters especially,
Yeah.
McCaffrey had 470 fantasy points last season.
Yeah.
470. That was 270 above the mean.
But that's last season. But
CeeDee Lamb, who had 1,800 yards, had 323 fantasy points.
Yeah, and when has the wide receiver one ever repeated as a wide
150 less than
CMC? Don't worry, I'll wait.
150 less.
Fair enough. I hear your point.
150 points less.
That's fine.
Jamar Chase getting 1,800 yards this year?
Do I think what?
Is Jamar Chase getting 1,800 yards this year?
More.
Yeah, that's what you got to be projecting a 2,000-yard season, and I don't even know if Burrow makes it through the whole season. And I don't even know if Burrow makes it through the whole season.
But that's yet to be seen, right? I have my reasons, and I will definitely go over my reasons, but we will give the rest of the panel their opportunity to go for sure. But yeah, I'm very bullish on Jamar Chase, and I want to say one of the points that you addressed that a lot of people don't talk about is, and I love that you said this, is when Zay Flowers played with Mark Andrews on the field, he averaged 11 fantasy points per game. So his ADP is currently inflated because when Andrews missed, 6, 7 games, his average fantasy points per game went up to 17. That's why he has such an inflated ADP. Yvette, you're up. Talk to me about your receivers here. Tell me how you feel about your receivers, and then tell me how you feel about the rest of the division's receivers as well.
Wow. Yeah, now that you mentioned that stat about Dave Flowers right there, that now it makes me think that the Ravens wide receivers even suck even more because Mark Andrews is healthy and is going to be back. So that even, I don't know, that scares me. And I really disagree with Roman Wilson. I think he's not going to be good. I'm going to take the whole other take on this. I kind of feel because they're going to be running the ball so much and he's not going to get the attention that he needs to develop in that offense. I just don't see it. So I just don't see Roman Wilson being that great. This year, I think he might be good, but maybe not right now. George Pickens, I'm not even, no, that's a no for me. And I agree. The only thing I really agree with Jack is what he said about Amari Cooper. That's the only thing that he had right, is that he is really, really that good. And he is the best player on this board, definitely in the ADP. The Bengals wide receivers, I mean, Jamar Chase and T. Higgins, they're studs. But I guess you're just buying them at that value, right? They have to be good. You know they're that good. When you're taking Jamar Chase that early, then he has to be good. And that's, hoping that Joe Burrow is healthy too.
I love it. I love it. Thank you. Who do we say was next? Did we say we were going to finish off with the Ravens?
You said the Ravens, so you didn't specify.
Okay, so we'll go Matt, because Brett, you went first last time. Then we'll go Brett. Then we'll go Andrew. Andrew, you'll bring us home, and I'll make my finishing remarks and statements on this one.
I'm gonna kind of lead off with the other teams in the division first before I hit on the Ravens. I know it's a little bit backwards. I like Amari Cooper a lot. I usually take him when I can in my fantasy drafts, especially full point PPR leagues. I like the value he brings, and I think that's a little bit of a low ADP for him. And that's just me personally, and I don't like complimenting anything with the Cleveland Browns because their beat writers have actively kept Art Modell out of the Hall of Fame. So that's another show topic. But I think Jerry Jeudy's going to surprise some people this year. I think that he's gotten a bad hand dealt with the quarterback situation in Denver. So I think that he probably has a somewhat productive year as a wide receiver too. So I would take a late flyer on him just based on value, especially if he's there in the later rounds, like close to the end of the draft. I would definitely scoop him up. For the Bengals, obviously Jamar Chase is like a fantasy stud no matter what. I just the luck of the draw. Most of the drafts I've ever had, I've always either picked in the middle or towards the end of round one. I'd never have drafted number one overall anytime to even have a chance at him. T. Higgins, I like T. I think that his evaluation is right. I think that they're going to try and feed him a little bit more because of the contract situation and try to appease him on his way out the door. The Pittsburgh Steelers, I'm choking on my words right now because I've been raised in the nothing good comes out of Pittsburgh realm here in Baltimore. George Pickens, he's always good, for catch volume as opposed to big chunk plays, at least in the games that I've watched him. I can't say, for an absolute fact because I only see him twice a year. I don't go out of my way to watch their games. And like you guys said earlier, it's just a bunch of guys after him. I do like Calvin Austin as a late pickup waiver wire kind of guy. On to the Ravens. I think Zay is going to have a little bit of a drop off this year because a healthy Mark Andrews, an emerging Isaiah Likely.
Yeah.
It's going to be one of those situations where I don't think he's going to get the volume of targets that a lot of people in the fantasy football world think that he's going to get. That worries me. So I would kind of avoid him unless he falls to like a little bit of the middle part of the draft. I wouldn't draft him high. I know he's got a high ADP right here, but I would personally avoid him because if anybody that pays attention to the Ravens, I know Brett and I do. Number 8 loves number 89, and there's no other way to put that. That's like, you know, Jenny and Forrest right there.
Yeah, great take. Absolutely love it. And here's a spectacular comment from Knifey Spoony saying Matt Trigger being unable to say anything positive about his rival team is the energy I'm here for. Let's keep it going, Brett. Pump me up. Let's go. Come with that fire, my friend.
Oh, so Jack and Matt actually already hit on two of my favorite points about Amari Cooper and Lamar's love for Andrews, which unfortunately lowers my evaluation of my own receivers. I love Chase. He's an incredible talent. He's probably going to be wide receiver 1 this year. If not, I think it's probably him or Hill. The stat that Jack gave earlier about Burrow's wrist worries me, though, so I'd probably stay away a little more now. My favorite player here, obviously, is Amari Cooper, which we talked about already. Higgins is fine at his ADP, but I'd obviously rather have Cooper there. Zay, we already hit on the splits with Mark Andrews, but the guys that were open the most in the NFL were like Tyreek Hill, Zay Flowers, and Rashad Bateman. Now, Rashad had no chemistry with Lamar. They had the 4th worst catch rate in the NFL. So he gets open a lot, doesn't get the ball. I think that changes this year. I'm taking Rashad Bateman in every single draft I can.
Can I counter you, Brett, though, for a second?
Yeah.
Not even in a fantasy football terms, brother. I respect the opinion, and I know that you put a lot of thought into it. But if you and I both paid attention to the local media and the going ons of the offseason, Rashad Bateman has not shown up to any of the workouts with Lamar. He has not gotten on the same page as Lamar in 2 years now. Even though he is by proxy the number 2, I don't see him getting the necessary targets to make an impact in fantasy the way that he probably should.
Yeah, good point. I mean, he's probably the number 4 target after Andrews, Zay, Likely, and then him. So unlike Matt, I'm going to pump up Pickens. I think he's going to have a monster year. I hate him, but he's going to have a great year. I think Roman Wilson's talented.
He should be a Raven. Let's just put it that way. He should have been a Raven. There's no way we should have passed on him.
Yeah. And then most of the rest of these guys, other than Burton, I wouldn't draft. Burton should fill that Tyler Boyd spot. So and again, since he's going to throw it a lot. So I like him late, but otherwise I wouldn't touch most of these guys.
Appreciate the take. Great take. Love that there was not just, inner division disagreements, but there was an inner team disagreement.
Inner team, yeah.
I love it. That is what we're here for.
Baltimore sports radio, man.
I know.
I just have to say the Art Modell comment was so wrong.
Uh-oh.
But it's true.
Well,
No, it's not. But we're not. We'll do another. We'll talk about that.
Okay. So we still have Andrew to wrap it up, and then for the tight ends, we'll go rapid fire. So we hit our points. We'll have it timed so our points are hit. We got a minute to hit our points, and then on to the next one. So Andrew, finish off the wide receiver take, please, and thank you. And let's keep it moving, guys. I'm loving this.
Yeah, so I mean, I'm kind of with the panel. I think like Jamar Chase at 3 feels a little early, even as a Jamar Chase stan. Like I love Jamar Chase, but 3 is really you're having to guarantee it, and I don't know if I can guarantee it as much as I want to. I'm much happier taking Chase at 10. You know what I mean? Like letting other people kind of take other risks, take Jefferson, take Bijan, take CMC, like, you know, even Kelsey I've seen in some drafts that are going ahead of him and things like that. So I'm fine taking him a little later. I think if I have the 3rd pick, I'm probably not reaching for Chase if I can help it. I like Zay. I like Pickens. I like Cooper. I don't think I love any of them technically. I like them. I don't love them. I'm not going to reach for them. But again, if I can get the right value on those guys, I'm with you guys. I think those guys are all going to be okay players for your team. You might not have the ceiling, in my opinion. I don't think you have the ceiling with Cooper as you might have with the others. I think his floor is probably the highest, which again, when you're drafting early, sometimes it's nice to go for floor. So I get some of that. If I'm going just based on the ADP, I think Rashad Bateman's the guy I want. I think you guys are kind of talking about it. Like, I think he's terrible and everybody hates him. His ADP proves that. You're not risking much to get him. You know what I mean? Like he's a 14th round pick or something. And this might be the year. We never know, right? Like in all honesty, it's got to be somebody. And with Derrick Henry being there, I feel like that team is going to be running the ball more. Maybe that opens it up for Bateman. It's hard to say. On the Burton talk, I do think Burton's going to be good, but I don't think he's going to be great this year. I think rookie receivers have a little bit of a tough sled, especially if they're not getting a ton of snaps, which Burton may or may not get that many snaps. I think it's Gesicki that's going to really benefit from that Tyler Boyd role. So I really think Gesicki's the one that I want in tight end land, which we'll get to in a minute. But altogether, all that aside, T. Higgins is the guy that we haven't talked about. I think he comes back. He's on, franchise tendered and all this. Like there's some drama around him. Is he going to get signed? It doesn't look like it. In my mind, this is a all in. We're going to go. We got to win it now. And I think T came back to get that job done. So I feel very strongly that this team is going to put it together. I think we got all the right pieces in all the right places. I'm fine taking Higgins over the other guys at their value. I'm okay taking Chase if I can help it, but I'd much rather take Bateman in the 14th and get a piece of the Ravens offense that way than spend the other money on the other guys, maybe other than Henry. He's probably the other one I'm a big fan of. But I feel like the other guys, you're having to take them at their ceiling, and Bateman, that might be his floor. So that's where I'm at with those guys.
Andrew, I don't want to say it, but you took the bait, man.
I took the bait, man. That's what I do.
Bait, man. You took it. I love the points and the takes you guys have. Everybody is different. Even we even got an inner team clash there. Jack, just for time's sake, you and I will catch up about my Ja'Marr Chase take. You can also watch me Monday to Friday at 7 p.m. Eastern time. I will be talking about Ja'Marr Chase forever. About being a Ja'Marr Chase truther and all my reasons why. But for time's sake, we'll move on to the tight ends. Once again, guys, this is going to be, rapid fire. Come with the fire. Touch on each one of those teams' tight ends. How do you think they're going to do? Good, bad, shit. It doesn't matter. You love them, you hate them. You need more. Let me know. We'll start with Andrew, then we'll go with the Ravens guys, then we'll go with Yvette, then we'll finish off with Jack. So it'll be Andrew, Brett, Matt, Yvette, Jack, and then let's go rapid fire. Let's go.
Well, I think Hot Take City in the chat here is exactly where I'm at. Andrews is TE1 this year. I agree. I think Andrews is going to be a beast this year. I think he comes back from that injury with a little bit of a chip on his shoulder. I think in division, especially, you're going to see a lot of big Andrews games. And again, I think that all stems from they can't really, the linebackers are going to have to fold down on Henry. They're going to have to worry about him more and let Andrews get a little bit free. So there's some narrative there. So I'm a big fan of Andrews. I also really like Likely, which I knew you guys kind of hit on before about being ahead of Bateman. I kind of agree. I think Likely is another great, tight end 2, tight end 3 for your team if you're looking for something late. We saw what he did without Andrews, but even with Andrews, I think he can be valuable. Njoku is somebody who I'm seeing rising up draft boards a lot. I think, again, that team is going to have to filter the ball to somebody other than Cooper. I don't know if it's Moore. I don't know if it's Judy. I don't know if it's Chubb. It might be Njoku. He could be a stud in the tight end 1 range. I mentioned Gesicki before. I think of the ADP, he's the one I love grabbing at the last round, kind of if I don't have a tight end 2 or I'm looking for a high upside pick. Gesicki's my guy. So I'm a big fan of my Gesicki play. But the one that I'm coming out of a lot of drafts with at value, and the one that I'm targeting or have been targeting in Dynasty, is Pat Freiermuth, my friend. I know that the Arthur Smith talk and the Kyle Pitts and all that, everybody's all nervous. I'm not nervous. I think Freiermuth's the real deal. And I think once you let the Muth loose, you got to get that guy the ball. And I think with the way that offense is going to run, it's going to be quick outs, Russell Wilson loves tight ends. Justin Fields loves tight ends. Like whatever offense they're going to do, it's going to be quick outs to the one big open option, and that's going to be Freiermuth over the middle. So I love all these tight ends, but the one I find myself gravitating to as an actual TE1 is Freiermuth, and then at cost is Gesicki, just because it's so cheap.
I love the rapid fire. I love how you touched on everything, super well thought out. Everything was great. But my favorite thing was, did you just have a lisp on the Muth Luth?
Yeah, the Muth is Luth, my friend. You got it. Yeah, that's a footballer's thing. I'm pretty sure.
That did not go over my head, and I really appreciate that. Genuinely, thank you for that. We said we were going to go with our Ravens fellas next, so we're going to go Matt, Brett, or did I screw up the order? Please tell me.
Brett is first.
Okay,
Yeah,
so Brett, then Matt, then Yvette, then Jack.
All right, so I'll start with the Ravens. Andrew's already hit most of it. Andrew's just tight end 1 this year, right? Like, it's done. Isaiah Likely, second best tight end in the division, right? Like, he is a top 16 in the NFL tight end. He proved it. Mark Andrews left as one of the best tight ends in football and didn't miss a step, right? He's an incredible tight end. He's going to get on the field a lot. They're going to make him the probably third target on the team. So I like him at cost. He's absolutely a steal there. David Njoku, I would love. He's very talented. I would love him if Joe Flacco was still the quarterback. But with Deshaun Watson, he did not have that same chemistry. They just didn't produce. I don't know. Maybe that's a Watson thing. Maybe it's just because he wasn't playing well last year. Maybe if he plays well this year, Njoku's better. But and I'm like Andrews. I target Freiermuth as if I don't get one of the top 5 tight ends, I'm trying to target Freiermuth at that cost in that lower tier. I am very much worried about the Arthur Smith thing, though. If he's the Kyle Pitts light, I wonder if I should be grabbing Darnell Washington
Exactly.
to get Jonnu Smith, vultured plays, even though he's pretty much just a blocking tight end. And then up until a few minutes ago, I wouldn't have touched any of the Bengals tight ends. They're pretty much trash. But I can see if Burton is not the guy and Gesicki's filling that Tyler Boyd role, then I would take Gesicki at that cost. But otherwise, nah.
Matt, you're up. I'm going to bite my tongue. Let the guests speak. You're up, Matt. Go.
Okay, Ravens. Mark Andrews is going to be high volume, high target, high output this year as long as he stays healthy. Isaiah Likely, I do agree with Brett. He might be one of the top 10, 15 tight ends in the league. I know it's saying a lot because he's our second tight end. He's going to get a lot of those wide receiver targets. He plays the slot an awful lot. And I think he takes a lot of touches away from Rashad Bateman. I know I'm backtracking, but I think that's who sees the ball instead of Rashad. I think that he is going to surprise people, and he could probably be ranked in the top 50 or 55 ADP by the time this time next year. David Njoku, I'd take him if he played the Ravens 17 games. He's a Raven killer too. I'd not touch any of the Bengals tight ends. Gesicki might be one of those guys I grab on the waiver wire if he's there, if one of my tight ends is having a bye week. When it comes to the Steelers, I'm in the same arena as Brett. If I can't get one of the top 5 tight ends, I'm targeting Freiermuth almost immediately. He has a lot of value. It just worries me because Russell Wilson is immune to throwing the tight ends.
I love it. I absolutely love it. All right, Yvette, bring that fire.
Yeah. So Mark Andrews, I'm really high on Mark Andrews. If I probably like him as the best out of all these tight ends. If I had a choice and I could pick any of them, it would definitely be Mark Andrews to probably be the number 1 out of these guys. Pat Freiermuth, I mean, Isaiah Likely, to be honest, I'm not really, I see what you're saying about how great he was when Mark Andrews was in, but I think because I like Mark Andrews so much and I'm taking so much of him, there's really not that many times where you get both, like I feel like if I'm targeting any of them, I'm targeting Mark Andrews out of the Ravens. Pat Freiermuth,
if there was anybody on the Pittsburgh Steelers offense that I had to pick, it would be him. I think he has the best upside. I know what you guys are talking about too about Arthur Smith. I see what you're saying, but I feel like he'd be a safe bet for a tight end, and I'd feel okay taking him. And I do understand the argument about David Njoku and how he might not be that great with Deshaun Watson. I get that, and I think now the talk is to gear the offense to spread the ball out more and to gear it towards more that it wouldn't maybe benefit David Njoku. And I hope it does. I hope that they figure out a way to see that he does get the ball where I could see where people have that in the back of their mind. And who's Mike Gesicki?
Yeah, great question about the Mike Gesicki point. I love it, guys. Can I ask a question? Just a simple yes or no. We'll get to you, Jack. I promise. But serious question: do you think Stefanski, who is like a formidable, offensive mind, do you think he looks at what David Njoku did down the stretch last year and say, yeah, but like Deshaun Watson doesn't like targeting the tight end position? Do you think that's going to happen? Because like David Njoku was one of the best players in football, period. Right? Not just the tight end position, just one of the best players in football. You think Stefanski looks at that success and says, now we'll keep feeding, Amari Cooper, and we'll incorporate Jerry Jeudy, and we'll keep pounding the rock, and we'll just ignore David Njoku now that Deshaun Watson's back? Do you think that that's the world we're going to live in? Because I love David Njoku. I just wanted to make that point. I've been biting my tongue the whole time. I just want. Do you guys think that's the deal? Please tell me I'm wrong. Tell me I'm looking at this the wrong way.
Coaches coach, players play.
Yeah.
Well said. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know if
I
I just want
rid of
to.
that tattoo.
I just want to talk about who is Mike Gesicki. That hurt. That cut me to my core a bit.
As a Pats fan, I share that sentiment 100%.
Yeah, I bet you do.
Yeah, I definitely share that sentiment. So you guys aren't thinking that Njoku's gonna do anything?
I do have a point on that. They got rid of Alex Van Pelt, right? And then they brought in Ken Dorsey. And I think that that kind of scares me too, as to the point where will David Njoku get the ball as much? And I don't really know if Kevin Stefanski will have that choice this year, because is he going to be the person that calls the plays? I know we still don't know. I don't know if the offense is going to be geared towards more of a Deshaun Watson type of backyard, football. And so I don't know what's gonna happen with David Njoku. We'll see. Okay. I think if it was up to Kevin Stefanski, then yeah, you're absolutely right. He wouldn't change anything. But it didn't work.
It's so volatile over there.
I think you design your offense around your $243 million quarterback and not the best athlete on the field, which is Njoku. Right? So,
I respect that take too. Yeah,
Flacco, he got a lot of plays because Flacco stands in the pocket forever, holds on the ball, and then hits him deep because he's a better athlete than everybody else.
I don't want to talk about Joe Flacco on the Browns. It hurt my soul.
There's only two quarterbacks I didn't want to see in the playoffs. It was Patrick Mahomes and Joe Flacco.
I mean, the Browns,
only guys that scare me.
The Ravens, you guys told my football team, and that hurts your soul. You guys actually told my whole team.
This is true.
You stole Joe Flacco. We're even. Maybe not even.
She should have a couple of
He's elite.
All right, Jack, take us home, brother.
All right, I gotta hop in the DeLorean first. We're going back to 2020 to the Tennessee Titans, to a younger, more agile, more enthusiastic Arthur Smith, who was still offensive coordinator at this time. First of all, Sleazeball, I see you in their comments. Corey Davis had 92 targets, 984 yards, and 5 touchdowns. Stick it. That was the wide receiver too. Now, on to the tight ends. Jonnu Smith that same year was sharing with Anthony Firkser because, like I said before, Arthur Smith famously runs the highest percentage of tight end 2 sets in the NFL. Jonnu Smith and Firkser had 65 and 53 targets respectively, but it was all Jonnu Smith, baby. He had 8 touchdowns to Firkser's 1, and Darnell Washington may as well be an offensive lineman. You guys, this is not a wide receiver in a tight end's body. This is an offensive lineman in a tight end's body. Freiermuth is the only receiving option we have at the tight end position. So he's going to get, I'm expecting him to get all the work. I'm expecting him to get combined Jonnu and Ferkser numbers, which would be like 800 yards and 9 touchdowns. So like in that 7 to 9 range total. And, the comments also mentioned if Russell Wilson steps out and it's Justin Fields, that's actually one of the only scenarios where Freiermuth actually goes up because Fields will hyper target the tight end. Russ, he doesn't use the tight ends as much. He will use them though, and especially when, like I said, Roman Wilson, as much as I love him, he's a rookie. He's going to be the best other wide receiver. So it's very much going to be Pickens downfield and Muth in the middle, and if not, one of the running backs coming out the backfield. So that's really how this offense is going to be designed. I don't need to talk about Mark Andrews. I think obviously he's one of the top 5 tight ends in the NFL. I have him still in the top 3. So in every draft, I'm trying to come out with one of those guys as my tight end 1. And David Njoku and the Muth, to me, that's like the line where after those guys, it drops off, and Mike Gesicki is just fetch. Like, how many times are we going to play this game? It's been on the Patriots now. It's been on the Dolphins, on the Bengals. What team is it going to be next? This guy's fetch. It's not a thing. It'll never be a thing.
I hate the take, but I love the delivery. That was beautiful.
Yeah. Jack always comes with the fire. I love it.
Love it.
All right. So I'm going to do a duck race, guys. Once again, just type in your favorite NFL team. We're going to do a duck race. If you guys got to step out on the panel because you have other, things to tend to, I appreciate you guys tuning in. But before I let you guys go, I need you guys to have a projection, just like who's going to finish where in the division, right? So we're going to go Andrew, Jack, Yvette, Matt Traeger, Brett. Who's going to have the highest? Like, you don't need to give me records, right? Just who's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4 in the division, and how many teams from that division is going to make the playoffs. Let's go fast. We got 3 more minutes, and then we're going to do a duck race. So, Andrew, take it away.
I'm going to go Bengals, Ravens, Browns, Steelers, and I think 3 of the teams make the playoffs.
Oh, Jack, you're up.
I have the records because I have to put it in because I said on your comment stream before the show, I have them within 2 wins, the bottom and the top. So at the bottom, we got the Steelers at 9-8. We got the Ravens struggling with that schedule and the offensive line chemistry at 10-7. We got the Browns with the tiebreaker at 10-7. And the Bengals, we are assuming Burrow is healthy for the entire season. They have the easiest schedule also. It's them and the Browns have the 2 easiest schedules, but the Bengals just a little bit easier. I gave them 11-6. They end up with the division, but I have all of them make the playoffs except the Steelers. It's too competitive in the AFC this year. 9-8 does not crack the playoffs this year.
Did we just get the wrong Steelers fan? Did you just project your team to finish last?
He's a smart Steelers fan.
I'm a very realistic fan.
I see some poop stains on that terrible towel in the background, sir. You've been using it wrong. Did you just?
We've got 6 Super Bowls to sit on, so I'm fine. I've got 2 Super Bowls in my lifetime. How many Super Bowls do you guys have in your lifetime?
I have 6.
How many?
We got 2 in 26 years. You guys got 6 in 80 years.
I love this. Yvette, you're up.
We got 2 in 26 too, but yeah.
Well, obviously, I think it's going to be Browns, Ravens, Bengals, Steelers.
Ooh, everybody's got the Steelers at the bottom. Even the Steelers guy.
Yeah, and I'll say 3 to
quarterbacks and the coaching. I mean, I love the Steelers, but I'm a very realistic person. We also have a really hard schedule is the thing too. Again, our schedule and the Ravens schedule by far like the hardest in the division. The Bengals and the Browns much easier schedules.
For sure. Sorry, what was that, Yvette? What'd you say?
Oh, wait, I was
You said Browns, Ravens, Bengals, Steelers. Then what'd you say at the end there?
I said 3 make the playoffs.
3 make the playoffs. Sorry, that's the part I missed. Thank you, Yvette. Matt, talk to me.
Ravens finished 12-5. Steelers finished last in the division. This is the first time Tomlin goes under 500, 8-9. Everybody said we had a tough schedule last year. We finished 13-4. I think we're gonna have a 1-win fall off this year. I got the Browns and the Bengals, but I do think they both make the playoffs as well. So Ravens, Browns, Bengals, Steelers.
Okay, Brett, take us home.
Yeah, clearly Ravens number one. Clearly Steelers last. It's kind of a coin flip for me on the Browns and the Bengals right now. I think if Joe Burrow's healthy, it's Ravens, Bengals, Browns, Steelers. And who makes the playoffs? I think it's 3, but it kind of comes down to, I think it's going to come down to tiebreakers and how the season plays out. I think the West is only putting 1 team in. I think the East are putting 2 teams in. And the South, we're going to be fighting with the South for whoever comes in second, who I think is the Jags, and whoever comes in third in the AFC North for that 7th spot.
I respect it. I respect it a heck of a lot. Folks, thank you so much for popping by and tuning in. If you guys want to stick around for the duck race, by all means, please do so, because these are fun. If you guys want to enter the duck race, you guys can, because I know Jack's on Drafters Fantasy, but I'm assuming a couple of you aren't on Drafters Fantasy Best Ball. If you guys want to join in on the duck race, by all means, but if you have to step up because you have other things you got to tend to, thank you guys so much for popping by. Andrew, I know you got to step out. So
yeah, I got to duck out. But thanks so much, guys. Good to meet you all.
Hope to see you at the expo.
That's right. At the expo, all of us. Let's go. Except for
looking forward
Jack.
to meeting you there, brother.
Good.
Looking forward to meeting you there, brother. Please let the folks know where to watch you and tune in before you head out.
Yeah, sure. So I'm at Andrew Hall FF. You can find me at the Dynasty Junkies. I also write articles for Fantasy Pros. But again, great to have all of you guys talking to AFC North. It's the best division in all of football right now. So anytime I can get on and chat about my Bengals, I'm a big fan. But again, Disco, thanks so much for having me. You guys have a great rest of your night.
Thank you, brother. You take care. Thank you for coming on.
Yep. See you.
All right, folks. You guys want to shout out your channels? Jack, you're up. Then Yvette. Then Brett. Matt, shout out your channels, your content, and then we're going to do a duck race. It's going to be great.
So the worst sports channel, but you can really just look up at Jack Lucena. It's the easiest way to find me. We got some great content coming out, though. Andrew's interview is out. Yvette has already done one with us. Brett has scheduled. Disco, obviously, you've been on the show for worst interview. But also worst fantasy show. I've got double episodes coming out tomorrow. I scheduled it for tomorrow so it wouldn't overlap with today's show. So Friday and Sunday, I have Scott Fishbowl star ratings for drafts coming out. So that's a really fun one. I had over 50 people send me their drafts for Scott Fishbowl, and I am going through them all, and I am giving them star ratings, just like good old Uncle Dave Meltzer for you wrestling fans out there.
I can't stand
Can we
that.
send them to you if they're not complete? I got like 3 rounds left.
Unfortunately, I've closed it at this point because I've gotten so many. But hey, I'll still rate them if you guys want to hit me up. Just throw them up in my DM and I'll give you a star rating.
Awesome. Thanks, man.
Yvette, please let the folks know where to find you, and then we'll go with my Ravens fellas, and then we'll do the duck race.
Yeah, I'm not going to stay for the duck race. I'm going to take off here after this, but I just wanted to say thank you guys so much for having me. That was a lot of fun. And you can find me at bougiesports.net. That's my website. And from there, you can subscribe to everything on YouTube.
Appreciate you, Yvette. Thank you for popping by, and I'm looking forward to meeting you at the expo as well.
Oh yeah.
Yes, go tend to business. Thank you. I know we took a lot of your time, so thank you for popping by.
Bye, guys. Thank you.
Yeah.
Bye.
Bye. All right, Matt, Brett, take us home, folks, and then we'll duck it up.
Thank you guys again for having me. It was a blast. I appreciate the invite. This was a great experience. I love talking football. That's been baseball mode for the last couple of months, but it's nice to be getting back into the football grind. You can find me on X at BWATB podcast, all one word. You can find me on the Driving to the Top Productions YouTube channel. Have some really good interviews coming up soon. Some more Ravens coverage coming up. Thanks for having me, guys. I'm going to cut on out. Brett, good meeting you, brother. We got to link up again.
Yeah, definitely hit a tailgate.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Matt. Take care. Looking forward to meeting you at the expo as well, my friend. All right, Brett.
Yeah, Disco, thanks Thanks for having us on. It was great. Loved the banner and the love, right? Like, I mean, there's a lot of hate in this division, but like CJ Stroud said it, by far best division in football last year. It's best division in football again this year. You know, I kind of hate all the other teams, but they're kind of like our little brothers. You know, I can talk shit on them. Nobody else can kind of talk trash on them. So, you know, had a good time. You can catch my stuff. I've got what I'm plugging really is my app. Download the app. It's called Better Vision. It's free to download. You can connect to ESPN, Yahoo, Sleeper, My Fantasy League, Real Time Fantasy Sports, FFPC, NFC. We're adding, hopefully, I think CBS and Fantrax in the next couple of weeks. Hope to get drafters on for you, buddy. Soon.
I appreciate that.
But yeah, download the app. That'll help us a lot. Otherwise, you find me on Twitter, Rebel Leader 1, RBL_leader_01.
I appreciate that, Brett. Thank you so much. Are you going to stick around for the duck
I'll
race?
stick around for the duck race. Yep.
Let's freaking go, Brett.
I won't be like
Let's freaking
Andrew.
go.
I'm not going to duck out.
Well, I know Andrew was cutting it tight. He had to leave at 9:30, and
He had a great pun. I was just hitting his great pun.
Yeah, no, that was a lot of fun. And Fantasy Dog, I appreciate the compliment. Disco is good at hosting. Disco also is speaking about himself in the third person right now. He exercised a lot of self-control today because there was a lot of points he wanted to interject and say something, but it was about the guests tonight. It was about our spectacular guests. You guys know the rules. This is 69 seconds of pure duck quackery. You guys need to get to quacking before we start the race. This is for a ticket entry into the Drafters Fantasy Best Ball Tournament, the $1,000,000 $500,000 goes to first, $2.5 million in total prizes. We have a question from JC Money to sign. Does it work on both iPhone and Android, the Better Vision app?
No, still sorry, buddy. Still right now it's just iOS. We hope to have the Android version out. The goal was before the Expo, but it looks like it might be week 1. We're having some
Work
trouble.
from
Google
Android.
Play
You're out there
Store.
on Android. Sorry to cut you off, Brett. If you're still out there on Android in 2024, just go get an iPhone. Come on.
I actually cut off my Android so I can or I got rid of my iPhone so I could get an Android, and it was the best decision I ever made. Best
Green
decision.
bubble guy. Ugh.
Yeah. But Brett, are you is Better Vision available on a website, or is it just
It's
an app?
not. Yeah, we didn't do a web app. Sorry, we built it native to iOS, but we're building the current version in Flutter. So anytime we push an update, it'll go with iOS and Google Play. But Google Play's store is their legal team is holding up because we touched sports betting. They asked for a bunch of extra things that Apple approved already. So.
Well, I know that if you're downloading, what's up, Andrew? Do we have Andrew in here? I know Drafters ran into a similar issue, and they just put their download for the app on the Twitter page there. So we'll add Andrew and I believe Fantasy Dog. Get to quacking, folks, and we'll do it. But yeah, I can't wait to check it out, and I can't wait to pick your brain about it. We're ready to rock. Let's go. Duck races.
Great.
And once again, guys, if you guys win, just contact me on X or Discord or anywhere. Big Draft Energy, and we'll get you guys your ticket. All right, on your marks, get set, quack. Our community loves duck races. I think
Is this like the fair where you got to shoot the water in the clown's mouth? Like, are they doing something on the app right now to make him win, or it's just
there's nothing.
random?
There's nothing. It's literally just all luck. Unless the name is Snowman 089, that guy wins every giveaway we ever. Seriously, we've given away this year alone $2,000 in tickets, which is huge. Last year we only did $500. This year we've given away $2,000 in tickets. It's going to be 2015, which is insane. And Snowman 089 just always finds a way to just win. He really does. He's an absolute monster. He's not in this one though.
There's value to being a loyal listener, right?
He was one of the OGs. He won almost every single one of them last year. We had to change the way we do our giveaways because we had the big spin wheel and he kept winning. So we're like, okay, we'll try duck races. JC introduced us to this, and let's get coming down to the wire. Who is going to make the push? It's two fat guys, Anthony Juris with the great article for the sports affiliation, and he's got the futuristic helmet, and he wins.
Oh.
Let's go.
AP sprinted out too early and just ran out of gas, man.
Yeah, man. Speaking of gas, he has irritable bowel syndrome, so that definitely took him home there. Guys, thank you so much for sticking around and doing this show. It was an absolute privilege. Big Draft Energy, Disco Ball Nation, I appreciate you guys. Super fun. See you guys tomorrow at 7 p.m. Eastern time for a couple of Drafters Fantasy Drafts.
Whoa. Before you go, I got a question.
What's up?
Real quick. What's a duck's favorite ballet? The Nutcracker.
Oh, shit. That's good. That's good.
That's why he's the worst.
I love it. Somebody said something about Pat Quackafee earlier and Joe Duck. That was good. All right, folks. See you tomorrow night. Thanks again, guys.
Thanks, Disco.
Next time.
Jack, see you next week. Disco Seath Expo.
Yes, sir.